lot of friends joining us. Wow, this is great. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar on No More Drama, where you will learn strategies to manage and reduce toxic employees in your childcare center. Welcome. My name is Danielle Benedict, and I am your MC for today. I'm the enterprise business developer here at Childcare. I work to support the needs of early childhood educators, directors, and owners so that you all can offer the best learning environments possible. So I've had lots of many roles in the last 17 years in education, but what I enjoy the most is advocating and caring for those who are caring for our children. So that is why I enjoy what I do here at Inspire Care 360. I'm joining you today from sunny Land O'Lakes, Florida. So if everybody could join in the chat, let us know where you're joining from. Want to direct you down to those boxes. You've got a chat box there. Tell us where you're from. And oh yes, good afternoon. Oh my goodness. Good afternoon. Welcome. We have got Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Chicago, more Florida. Welcome. Welcome, Faith. Welcome, Melissa from Wisconsin. Welcome, Camden from Delaware. Welcome. Travis from Texas, Susan from New York. Thank you, Sharon from Ottawa, Illinois. Well, I hope you're all having a beautiful sunny day. It's a nice 89 degrees here in Florida, so another sunny, warm day. Thank you for joining us. While we're waiting for everybody to get in there and join, just continue to tell us where you're joining from. I want to let you know that there is a chat box that you can use throughout the discussion for general questions, and then there is for general comments. And then there is a question and answer section that we're going to be keeping an eye on and monitoring throughout the webinar. So feel free to submit any questions that you may have for Jessica or the panelists throughout the webinar. Let's see. Welcome from Alabama. And Lisa from Georgia. So nice. All right, so we'll go over the agenda today. I'm very excited about this webinar. We are first going to be speaking with, we're first going to take a look. Here's our agenda, as you can look at your screen. We are going to look at our ECE Healthy Advantage Healthcare Benefit Offerings. So this is a comprehensive healthcare plan. It's created specifically with the early childhood workers in mind. We will also look at Inspire Care 360's very own AI solution, which is another very exciting program that we have in the works in the beta testing phase right now. Then you're going to get a chance to meet our panelists, and we'll dive into a discussion. The discussion dealing on toxic employees, one of the most challenging aspects of running a childcare and daycare center, as we know, is those toxic employees. So you're going to get some great strategies today. And then finally, we're going to have a few announcements at the end, and you'll get a sneak peek of our new ebook release, The Loaded Diaper, where you'll learn to avoid the stink of not being prepared for a PR crisis. So that is how welcome. I see a few more joining. And just as a reminder, if you are seeking some continuing education units, there you go. If you are seeking education units for joining this webinar today, you'll follow this link. We're going to drop it here in the chat box. Sarah, I believe, is kindly putting that in the chat box for us. And if you're just now joining us, please remember to take a moment to add your name and where you are joining from. Welcome, Anne. And I'm glad you are joining us for such an important topic today, as we all know that dealing with toxic employees can really drain your childcare center. So welcome. And right now it is my pleasure to introduce to you our amazing host and our Vice President of Operations here at Inspire Care 360, Ms. Jessica Wright. Jessica is not only our amazing leader, but she is an inspirational mentor. She's a teacher. She uses her experience as a business owner and an educator to support all of the Inspire Care 360 family. So welcome, Jessica.
Oh, Danielle, thank you so much. And thanks for getting us kicked off today. So appreciate you. And Danielle has just been a blessing to our organization as she's come aboard with her experience as well. So thank you, Danielle, for the great introduction.
You're welcome.
As Danielle mentioned, I'm Jessica Wright. I'm the Executive Vice President here in Inspire Care, and I am super excited to be your host today. And we have awesome panelists that are going to be joining us. But as Danielle mentioned, we do like to do a few housekeeping items and tell you just a little bit more about a few things that we offer. And one of the things that, I know has given me a headache through my last 20 plus years of needing to get my healthcare needs in check has been affordable, flexible healthcare. This is something that we developed that we're super proud of. It's ECE Healthy Advantage. We have 5 healthcare benefit options that you can choose from, and then 6 supplemental care options as well. A lot of these options, you have $15 office and specialist visits, $50 urgent care, no deductible. So we can tell you more about Healthy Advantage, and I know Sarah's going to be dropping links in as we go. If you're interested in more information, please drop us a message. I just want to share a little bit about my experience and why this is so near and dear to my heart. So I was on a major medical program that I was paying $1,200 a month, and my deductible was $10,000. And that was for myself and my 2 boys. It was extremely high. I had an incident where, unfortunately, a metal piece hit me on the head. So now everybody knows what's wrong with me. But at that time, I ended up in ER. I ended up with 4 staples in my head, and it cost me $7,000 out of pocket. And because I had this $10,000 deductible, I was never going to meet. So when I was introduced to our Healthy Advantage, I am on our Elite Care for myself and my 2 boys, and I added on accidental care. It is just a deconstructed major medical because the majority of the time we're healthy individuals and we just need to get our preventative covered. So this plan is perfect for me and my family. It's 100% of your preventative care is covered. And then we have those supplemental care options that you can add on. So for more information about Healthy Advantage, it's very affordable for the employer and for the employee. So drop us a line and we'll give you more information about that. Another solution that we're super excited to introduce is Ask Reggie. Ask Reggie, you've all heard the big buzzword AI, right? And a lot of you probably have heard of ChatGPT. So what is different about this AI? Well, this AI, Ask Reggie, we developed specifically for ECE professionals. So what does that mean? So if you go on ChatGPT and you put in a question, then you're probably going to get an answer that they pulled from everywhere. That answer can come from a blog post, that answer can come from a document, a PDF, anything, anywhere on the internet. Well, what we did is we developed Ask Reggie, which just pulls from your state regulations instead, and so it goes directly to it. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to actually share Ask Reggie, and as I'm doing that, Sarah's going to also put the link because we are looking for beta testers for this. So this is askreggie.ai. If you do not have an account and you are excited to go on and give this a try, like I said, it's in the beta tester. You can go right here and click sign up, and you can sign up to be a beta tester. It's as easy as that. Once you sign up, you'll have your password. I'm going to go ahead and log in so that you can see what that looks like. Oops, of course I put in the wrong one. My apologies. Trying to type too fast. Okay, so here we go. So over here, this is where you do your question and answers. If you have a history of questions, that history of questions would be listed right there. I'm going to go back here. You can put in whatever state that you're in. We've just got it set for New York. You ask your question here. After you ask your question, and just for the sake of time, I won't show you this part, but once you put in a question, so let's just say you did put in, can I use an extension cord in the classroom? You'd click get your answer. it will give you the answer directly from New York state regulations. It'll guide you right to it. You can actually click it and open up exactly where it's at. We are getting ready to revamp this, and future Ask Reggie will actually can be specific to your facility. So you can add your handbook, and your employees could go into Ask Reggie and say, what is our dress code, and give you the answer. So we are headed in that direction. We're super excited for what's coming, but we really would like to have more beta testers who can, give this a try and give us your feedback. There is a feedback button as well when you get in there. Okay, so I'll go back to the presentation. All right, so that is Ask Reggie, and I think Sarah put the link in there so that you can go to askreggie.ai and get started. Now, what you all are on here for, and I am so excited. We have a great turnout here. We have these amazing panelists, Angela, Malabet. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting Angela and her beautiful mother. They are Shell's Early Learning Center, and I know Angela's been doing that, gosh, at least 11 years. She's out in Delaware. And when we were asking for panelists, the thing that stood out in Angela's response when it comes to identifying toxic employees and coming up with strategies is Angela said, we feel like here at Shell's Early Learning that we are one team, and anyone that goes against that just may not be the right fit. So that really stood out when Angela gave me her response. Miss Maria Roberts, she's the program director for Little Dreamers Daycare Center in Michigan. And the thing that stood out with me with Maria's response, I loved this. She said, for my employees will either grow or go. So I think we've all kind of been in that boat where we really want to help them grow, but unfortunately, sometimes it turns out that maybe they're not the best fit for your culture. And then our third panelist today is Kari Robertson. I actually met Kari earlier in this month, and she was just a treat to chat with. She's the executive director and founder of Alphabet Soup Childcare, and she's out in California, and Kari's been doing this for 30 years. And the thing that stood out to me in Kari's response when she came into this panelist was she said, you coach them up or you coach them out. So ladies, we are super happy to have you. So come on with us. There's their beautiful faces. All right, we got everybody on here now. Excellent. Well, welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so I am going to just go right into today's discussion. So spotting that toxic behavior early before it spreads. So these beautiful ladies, they have lots of experience, and unfortunately they have experience in these areas. So, Kari, if you don't mind if I start with you, because I know we had some pre-chats and I just loved everything that you had to say. I was like, I wish I could have just recorded this. So, but, Kari, would you just share with us, a time where you spotted some toxic behavior and thought, okay, I have to address this before it actually spread?
So we actually have a question that we ask in our interview, and the question is, I'm going to give you for example, let's say that you're working in one of the rooms and a teacher from another room wants to come and gossip with you. How would you handle that? And right away, people will say, 40% of the time, people will say, catch me at the break or call me after work. That's like an instant no, because we know this is going to be a toxic situation. And we start out right in the interview, just letting people know that this doesn't work here. It's not something that we tolerate. And we've designed this from some toxic work situations that we've had. So it does eliminate a lot of it.
Wow, 40%. I mean, that is just shocking to me, but unfortunately that is the time that we're in. So I think that's pretty amazing that you do that right out of the gate in the interview. You kind of catch that red flag or that potential toxic employee. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Maria, would you like to contribute and share a time when you spotted toxic behavior and when you had to address that?
Yes, unfortunately, I do have experience in this department like many of us do. Honestly, when it comes to toxic behavior, usually as leaders, it's not what we see, it's what we don't see. And so, unfortunately, toxic behavior can come in all different faces. Some, of course, you might see red flags in the interview, like, ugh, and typically you trust your gut. And then there are times where they know how to check the boxes. Maybe they're a top performer, maybe the parents love them. And then when you really get behind the scenes and in between the lines, you start to recognize some traits that can essentially become cancerous if we don't address it soon, as the leaders in EC.
No, I like that you said that because unfortunately it isn't what you see always. So even though we like to think that we have eyes in the back of our head as mamas and teachers, but we don't, we miss things. And so I like that point. Thank you. And Angela, do you have some thoughts on this as well?
Just to pretty much piggyback off of what Maria said in regards to, it's not exactly what we see on a daily basis, but I know for me specifically, I like to take those 30 days, those first 30 to 60 days. That was one thing that was always instilled in me, is that anybody can fool you to get through the door, but it's those first 30, 60 to 90 days that you're able to really see who they truly are. And for me, the moment I see something that's not on track for what we're already doing here, I'm addressing it. I'll address stuff before it even becomes an issue. I'm going to deal with the problem before it's a problem so that there is no problem. So if you're not going to work, I'm going to know that in the beginning, because you're not going to be okay with me addressing something before it even becomes something, because unfortunately, same here, dealt with the same issues and dealt with those toxic employees. So certain things I'm able to pick up on and be like, let's just have a one-on-one real quick. Like, let's just go over something. So I like to spot them as soon as I see it, even if it might not be anything, I'd like to address it right then and there.
No, that's great, Angela. And that's true. I mean, what do they say? Nip it before. So no, that's excellent. Maria, somebody had put in the question and answer. Miss Brandy put in there. How do you handle it when the parents are loving the teacher, but she's toxic to the team? So any thoughts or strategies on how you do handle that? And if you have had to handle that situation, have you experienced any backlash from the parents?
Sure. So, in childcare, it's all about relationship. The way that our process works is that the reason why they have a relationship with this teacher in the first place is because of the trust and the connection they built before they even were entered into the classroom. And so, it is a risk, when you are in the process of refining and building and growing, there may be a time where you have to part ways with an employee that may be toxic or their behavior. And if a family decides to leave, you understand, and it's no hard feelings. But then the parents only see what they see. And if the situation, I know sometimes individuals might be scared, like, well, okay, what if the employee takes my clients? Let them and let them see. And then they'll understand, okay, let me go back because I understand now.
That is so true. The grass is not always greener on the other side. No, I know in my own experience, I've had that where I've had to let an employee or even a client go, and they typically will come back. So I love that. Great. Angela or Kari, did you want to touch on that? Have you either of you experienced that?
I've experienced having a strong teacher to the parents, but it still comes back to the same thing. It's only what they see when they pick up, when they drop off. It's not what they're seeing throughout the day. And I think the biggest thing that we also have to pay attention to is, yes, those relationships with the teachers are highly important and they should be very strong. But the real strong, out of all the relationships that they're going to build with amongst the childcare facility, the strongest relationship should be with that admin, with your director. in order for them to have that bond, like Maria said, once again, when they came in, they built that bond with us. They built that trust with us. They loved what we presented to them and what we're showing them and what we're incorporating in our facilities. So I make sure my bond stays extremely strong with my parents so that they can, if they have those questions, they know that I'm going to give you a very truthful, honest answer, but I'm also going to make sure that you're still getting your wants and needs fulfilled for your child. Even if it's not that employee that you felt as though was extremely strong, it's okay, because I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna find someone that's even stronger, that's gonna make you even more happy, and that your child is gonna love 10 times harder as well too.
No, that's very true. Keeping that bond as the admin is so important, and they will trust your decisions at that point. So thank you. That's an excellent point.
And I'd just like to add that we ask parents in our intake not to communicate with teachers on their private cell phones.
That's a good
And
point.
we just tell them, because it's true here in California, if staff can prove they're working outside of their clocked in hours, we have to pay them, as well as a $1,500 fine to the state. And we do have a communication app so that the parents can communicate with any of the teachers or the admins. And that way we're able to see the conversations that are happening. And I think that's where a lot of toxic stuff happens, is when there's communication going on outside of work. And we do have some parents sometimes that ask questions that should not be asked. There is privacy concerns with people's employment, and we never tell any of the employees or the parents why teachers leave. We just say, that's illegal. We're not allowed to talk about people's employment, to kind of stop the drama before it starts. But managing and kind of overseeing that, what's going on in the communication, you can also go in and, if there's a problem, immediately address it so it doesn't continue and get out of hand.
No, that's an excellent point, Kari. So I started my career as a special education teacher, and my first year out of college, 22 years old, on fire, super excited. That's when we still had landlines. So I'll age myself a little bit, but I called all of my students' parents and gave them my number, told them if they ever needed anything. Wow. Don't do that. I would get calls at 2 a.m. that their child was having an emotional breakdown, and I'm like, I'm just the special ed teacher. So managing that and keeping check on that's a very good point. And I know it is, the labor laws out in California really buckle down on you, so you have that backing you as well. Well, excellent points of view there. Don't forget, as I know we have several people, I'm so excited to see everybody on here. If you have a question or just a thought, feel free to drop it in the chat or drop it in the Q&A. So Kari, I want to go back to you, because I do remember your response, and when we talked before on this second kind of point here, apply strategies to manage and reduce. You had some great strategies that you had shared. So would you mind just sharing some strategies or an experience where you implemented some of those strategies?
Sure, absolutely. So we have core values, and we also have a mission statement. So if you don't have that, get that. And then we discipline, if you want to call it that, to the core values. So if an employee is acting in a way that is not congruent with our core value, we pull the employee in. We also have a very open door policy. We do one-on-ones every 30 days with every one of our employees. And we will get feedback from other employees, from the leadership team. And then we let everyone know this is how it works, and that we'll be giving you feedback. So for instance, if an employee is acting in a way that it's not okay, we'll say, here at Alphabet Soup, we don't do blah, blah, blah. This is the way we would rather it be handled. And I know somebody, I don't remember who, talked about the team. It is very important that everyone feels like they're on the same team. The moment we get a whiff of this room against that room, or it's this group against it, we immediately jump in and address that. So always having something to back up to your core values are great, something to discipline with. And I will say also having compassion for your employee. I would rather somebody pull me aside and let me know I'm not doing something right than wait for 60 days and then write me up and fire me. So always having that compassion, because people come from much different places and come in with different ways of doing stuff. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not. So, just helping them early on, immediately when you recognize it, I think is super important.
No, I think Angela had even brought that up earlier when she said, she has those one-on-ones. I love that you guys do that. I think that's important for them to know that you've got that open door and that, they can openly discuss, things with you, but as well, you can openly discuss things with them. And I agree, getting ahead of it. So that's an excellent point. And Maria, you also had, because you said grow or go, and that just stuck with me. But you had some great strategies as well. So would you like to share some of that too? And
Absolutely. So in our program, we believe that growth is a requirement, no matter what level, no matter what position. If just to be a little nerdy for 5 seconds, when you think about nature, right, and the process of gardening, if a seed doesn't grow, if a tree doesn't grow, it dies. And so when it comes to our employees, our teachers, we are a team. We really cannot do it by ourselves. But if this is the vision of your program, and you have a person, even if it's been 3 years, maybe you're in a season where your vision is not aligning and that person is on their own agenda, it can't work. And so I definitely resonate with Kari on compassion. Compassion sometimes is setting someone free. We don't want anyone to be a part of our programs if you're not happy. No, find something that brings you joy, because at the end of the day, these children, they need our best. And if you are not in a place where you can give your best for these children, then go find where you can. And so if you can't tell me about this.
No, I can't tell. And I love it. And it stood out when you gave your responses. We had a lot of people that wanted to be a panelist on here, and it was really hard to go through and choose, the three of you, but the three of you stood out, and we could tell that you were very passionate about it. And, in 2017, Maria, you bring me to something that I say often. So a lot of people that are in my circle, they know I say this all the time, but I say, if it stresses me more than it blesses me, I have to let it go. And I've actually had employees that I can tell they're burnt out. They are not loving what they're doing. And I've said that to them, like, if this is stressing you more than it's blessing you, then go find exactly that. Find what makes you happy and what blesses you. So I'm right along there with you. So thank you for sharing that. Angela, anything to add? I know you already kind of talked about the one-on-one and team, but I know you just had a ton of things to offer as well.
Yes. So the center, our family business, we have 4 childcare facilities. And I currently run our largest facility. It's licensed for 110 students. Also, it's 2 buildings. It's 1 center, but it's 2 buildings. When I first came in here about 8 years ago, it was the hardest thing ever, because that's what we ran into was, we're the pre-K building, we're the toddler building, this is us. It was a huge separation. And I think the one thing that I took away from that was there can't be a separation. There can't. And I think that's what I built off of that. That was my foundation, is that we're one. We're one team, one unity, one family, one group. We're shells. This is shells. And my thing with that was I wanted to build that. I wanted to go off of that. So my thing was, let's work together. Let me build my team to the point that they can understand why I'm doing these questions. They can still grow. They can still learn. If they grow past me, I'm happy. My goal isn't to keep you forever. My goal isn't to keep my teachers forever. My goal is to build my teacher up so that if their time does come to an end with me, I know wherever they go, whether they go into another center, whether they go into the school district, whether they open their own centers or they become a director, that I know I was able to fulfill their needs while they were with me. And that satisfies me enough, to the point that even my team, one of my teachers said it today, she was like, you want people to grow when they're around you. You want us to be just as good as you, or if not better. And I do. because my thing is I want to put out there what I would love to get in. And I think that was the biggest thing is when I was in the classroom, what did I want from my director, my administrator? And that's what pushes me to the day. And that's what helps me be able to get those toxicity out, because it's easy to see when somebody's not on board when everybody's on board, because I'm filling their cup up from what they need from me without them asking, without them knowing, without any questions whatsoever. I learn each individual person for who they are, for their strengths and weaknesses, and I help them with that. My goal isn't to, oh, just go work, go do this, just focus on your classroom, focus on that. Build those relationships, have that fun, enjoy your team. Talk to me if you need to. I'll be your therapist, I'll be your lawyer, I'll be your doctor, I'll be whatever you need me to be, because these kids need you. And that's helped a lot with taking that toxicity out of the work environment here, because they know if nobody else is going to have my back, I know Miss Ange will. And that is enough. That fulfills me enough to go to bed at night, that everybody here knows that I got their back. And if there's an issue, I'm on it like white on rice. I'm right there with it. What's up? What's the problem? What's going on? Let's fix it. Let's move past it. Let's go ahead. Let's have a good day. Let's keep it pushing. And it's worked thus far. And I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I love your answer, because I can tell that you love the people around you and that you want to elevate them. You know,
Yes.
our CEO, Tony, he always says, high tides elevate, all ships. And that kind of goes along with what you're saying. If you can elevate those around you, then we all elevate and we all raise each other up. So, excellent point. And that, we're kind of skipping down here, but I think what you said, Angela, really takes us to the last point on here, is build a culture that encourages teamwork. I think that's really where the foundation is, right? You have to build that culture. You, like Kari said, you have to have the core values and the mission. And, we say a lot here at Inspire Care 360, if you put everybody in a rowboat and you just tell them to row, so what's going to happen? Your boat's going to spin in circles and nobody's going to get anywhere. But if you have that strong leader that's, saying when to row and the direction we're going, then the boat's going to row in the direction you want it to go, and you're going to get across that lake or that river or wherever you're headed. So just building that culture that encourages teamwork. So I'll open it up to you. What do you do? Angela, you touched on a lot of what you do. Anyone else want to contribute? How do you do that at your childcare center? How do you build that culture of teamwork and everyone having that sense of belonging?
I can jump in here.
All right.
I know in our industry, there, at least from my experience, there tends to be admin versus the team. The teachers don't understand what we're going through, and admin, they just laugh and drink coffee all day.
You wish.
And so I think just really having, yes, of course, we want to be servant leaders, but we want to be authentic leaders. We want to be on the floor with the coach approach. Yes, I am here. I know it's hard. I was there where you are, and let's work together. What's the strategy? Here's some support. And then next time this thing happens, what strategies can we work with so that you can do it? And I think if we lead by example, we can eliminate the opportunities for there to be confusion or misunderstandings. I had a situation where I was training an employee, and there was some gossip going on. We love the great gossip, and recognizing we all need a safe space, right? We all need, including our employees, they need to be able to vent. Get the problem out, but then what's the solution? And so I think if you create an atmosphere where everyone feels safe, they feel heard, we are all being our authentic selves, then when we do get together, there is no problem that if we put our minds together and we talk about it and we work through it, that we can't overcome.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, Maria. That's a great way to look at it.
I was going to say the same thing. Pretty much authenticity shows. People know when you're being fake or when you really care about them. And, we had a really toxic employee once who wanted another teacher's job. And so she called the police department
Oh.
and said that this person was hurting the children. So
Wow.
instead of licensing showing up, the police department showed up, and I was like, what? And through that very difficult situation, I learned a ton. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to a lawyer. Don't be afraid to reach out to an HR specialist. You know, get help to help you through difficult situations. And, you know, in the end, it all kind of worked out because I'm an authentic person, and people who brought their kids to me trusted me, my teachers trusted me, and you know, that definitely pays off. And if you don't care about your people, this is the wrong business to be in, because I do, just like Angela was saying, I know they're not going to stay with me forever. I'm the only forever employee. But when they leave, I want them to go somewhere, and I want someone to say, wow, this employee came from Alphabet Soup. They did a great job with this employee. I would also say that we do a thing where we call it venting up. So you would never, if you're having an issue, you would always go talk to somebody who's above you. So if you're an employee, you would talk to a lead teacher about it, or an assistant director, or a director, but you wouldn't talk to one of your fellow employees about it. And the same thing, if you're a director, you're not going to go to the assistant director. And I think that's how a lot of toxic gets started, because you might have a problem with somebody, and then you go flock. I call it flocking. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's like the fight or flight, but it's flocking. You got to go get somebody else to be on your side.
Right.
And next thing you know, now we have two people that have a problem with something that somebody's doing, where the other person didn't even notice it before. So that way, when you vent up, first of all, the leadership team gets a clue that there's a problem, so we can help to fix that and get in there and support whatever situation's happening. But also, sometimes you just need to vent. Just getting it out, and you just feel better, and then you move on. And I'm not always on site. The director might be gone for the day. I just had a toddler teacher that pulled one of the other directors from another room into the office for 5 minutes and was just like, blah. And she said, I felt so much better getting all that out. And then I went back to my room. So, you know, just having those things in place for people to get it out, because sometimes you feel like you're going to explode. And if there's no way to get it out, put in a way for people to do that so that they can move forward.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And I love that you both said authentic. I think that I really think that's priceless. Like it does say a lot about you and your leadership style. And I agree with you that unfortunately that negativity can spread so quickly. Positivity always doesn't always spread as fast, but negativity seems to spread quick. So I love the idea of venting up.
And then if I'm able to say something real quick.
Of course.
Something I don't know if my team takes me serious when I say it, but I'm 1,000% serious when I say it, when I tell them that I hired each and every one of you guys. I sat through the interview. I did the interview questions. I looked over your observations. I looked over everything. And when I do when we sit down for an hour and have our discussion during the interview process, I just talk to them. I need to get to know you and who you are, because that's going to tell me what type of teacher you are. So one of the things I always joke with my team, because my team here, a lot of them are going on about 2 years plus longevity with me. And the one thing I do always say to them is that I hired each and every one of you. So therefore, a piece of me is in each and every one of you. I connected with you guys, or I saw a piece of me in each and every one of you guys that works. And and they all look at me like, really, Miss Angie? Yes. Each one of you guys, I saw myself in. So if I saw myself in you, and to me, I think I'm a great teacher. So if I'm thinking I'm a great teacher and I see myself in you, then I know you're an awesome teacher. I know you have the potential. I know you can grow. I know you can be amazing. And I think that also makes them feel like, oh, wow, Miss Angie sees a lot in myself that I don't even see, because she put me on her level, and she's an executive. She's the co-owner, executive director, and all this stuff. And I do. But on the flip side, I also make sure that we do things together as a team. Let's do a parade together. Let's do a team bonding and go bowling. Let's go do, let's go play laser tag together. Let's go have dinner together. Let's do those little team bondings so that we can feel, I want y'all to feel like I'm your extended family. The same way I say to my families that I want you guys to feel as though these teachers are an extended family. I want my teachers to feel the same way. We don't have to talk on the weekends. We don't have to talk after work all the time and stuff like that. But if you're like, I just need to talk to somebody and you call me, I'm gonna answer. If you're here and you're having a bad day, do you need to talk? Yes, Miss Ange. And you can come in my room. You can come in my office. You can cry it and set it up for it to be a relaxing environment. Also for my staff, I want the mental health is the biggest part that I feel like goes into that toxic employees, is that the mental health is into it, that there's a reason why they're being toxic. Yes, there's people that are just toxic to be toxic, but there's also people that have gone through toxic situations, toxic environments, toxic people that makes them only know how to be toxic. But when you start, it's like an onion. When you start pulling those layers back, those tears start coming back, they start crying, and then they flourish. And it's a whole different teacher. So it's taking that time to get to, that's the biggest thing I keep wanting to go back to. Take the time to get to know your employees for who they are, for their strengths, their weaknesses. The same way we preach that children, not every child learns the same way. It's the same thing for our staff. Not every teacher can be talked to the same way, can be directed the same way. Not every teacher can be like that. You have to know what works. I know my teachers where I can be like, look, get this done, this done, this done, this done, and they'll get it done. But I know my teachers where I have to be like, look, do this, and when you're done, come back to me. I have something else. And then I have my teachers where I'm like, you got it. Do whatever you want. I know you got it. So I know you have to know your team, not only for what they're certified as, but what their strengths and weaknesses are, because everyone's strengths and weaknesses are going to come together and equal out and make a balanced ship. And that's what our goal is to have a great smooth sailing day, to the point that I didn't even realize we were here all day. Dang, it's already 4:00. Oh my God, it's time to go. So that's all I can get. If anybody can take anything away from this, get to know your teachers, understand your teachers, know their strengths, know their weaknesses. You'll start being able to tell when they're about to have a bad day before they even know they're going to have a bad day. I can look at some of my teachers and be like, you're all right. They'll tell me yes all day. And by the end of the day, they'll break down in my office and be like, I just don't know. It was all going to be Miss Ange. I could tell. I knew something wasn't right. But we have to, as leaders, we have to get to know each individual teacher that is amongst our facility, not even just teachers, but down to every staff that we work with. That's maintenance, if that's your cooks, if that's your floaters, your volunteers, you have to know them, because once they feel that you genuinely know them, that you genuinely care, they're going to do anything and everything for you, to the point where they're like, you're sick, why are you here? Like, what are you doing here? Like, go home, or we got it. What are you stressing about? We already took care of it. We already got lunch breaks breaking down. We know what we're doing. Like, you should want your team to be able to run your ship, and so that you can step away and get what you need to get done.
Yeah.
I love that.
First of all, I just want to say this is an amazing conversation. I feel like I have some people that, my people, you guys understand. Just out of hearing what Angela is saying as well, I think with that, the key is consistent communication. What happens is, I don't know about you guys, but for me, we're juggling so much as leaders, so much. We are holding the tension between the state and the parents and the staff and all the things. And sometimes, because of all the things that we juggle, it's so easy, or it can be easy to push that meeting back. We don't have time for that. And before you know it, the little thing, because it was never addressed, becomes this big thing that now, is really weighting down the team. And especially when you're dealing with toxic behavior in employees, for whatever the reason, what I have found, a lot of the behavior is passive aggressive. And what is the enemy of what is the antidote to passive aggressiveness? Accountability. And so what happens is, if a person is used to moving a certain way and not being, being noticed or doing things, when you have that, make the time, because we won't have it. When you make that time to have that one-on-one, remove all the distractions, and you're holding up the expectations that you set, it's not enough just to set your expectations, but then, okay, so then when the expectations aren't met, what happened after as the leader? How can I now then follow up with that? And so that is the key. That's what I found. And what happens is when you do that part, if either, once again, either they're going to grow or they're going to decide that, you know what, I don't really, that really isn't what I want to do. And then now we can move on and move forward. So
You ladies have done amazing. There's actually quite a few questions in the box. So.
Yes, I saw that, Danielle, and I am going to jump on and get onto some of those, but this really is an amazing conversation. And Angela, I had to laugh because your mama, I know she's in the chat, and she said, that's my baby. So I know she's really proud of you.
She's so embarrassing. Sorry, guys.
Hey, you know what? My mom is a godsend for me and in my past businesses and with my kiddos. So you come from a good tree. I can tell that. So I do want to get to some of the questions. So Kari and Angela and Maria, if you can help answer some of these questions. One of the questions in the Q&A is, what about a new teacher who comes in and starts telling you the other teachers are not doing their job and constantly finding something wrong with their fellow employee?
That would be a coach them up or coach them out. They might not fit with your team. If you notice right off the bat, because you know your people. I know my people. When people come to me and say, Miss So-and-so is doing such and such, I'm like, no, Miss So-and-so does not do that. I've worked with her for 10 years. I know she's, so that would be an instance of, you need to get to know the new person and find out if there's a way to get them to come on board with the team. If not, I always lead the conversation with, are you sure that you want to work here? Because it doesn't seem like this is what you want to do. And then that usually kind of, they go, oh, and they either go, okay, wait, I do want to work here. Or they're like, yeah, I don't. And I tell them, this is not the job for everyone. This is a really hard job to do. And if you're not happy here, just like, other people have said, don't be here, and you don't want them there. If they're doing stuff that's making things harder for everybody, you do not want them there. And the other thing I was going to say from before is, good people will leave if you do not uphold your standards, if you do not have accountability. So if you're somebody who's new in this business or new to being a director and you're like, I don't want to have that conversation, have the conversation early and often, because good people will leave and you don't want that.
Absolutely.
But to also be the little devil's advocate, sometimes I don't automatically write them off. Because unfortunately, what happens is that we put on blinders when it comes to our employees that have been here longevity. And we know what they can do. And sometimes we do put those blinders on. I actually had that situation. And I had to take a moment back and look at everything. I had to look at the whole situation. I had to look at my longevity employee. I had to look at my new employee. I got to know my new employee more. So I could see how things were portrayed to her and how they may have came off to her. As well as with my longevity employee, I had to also look at her and make her have accountability at the same time. You've been here longer than her. If she's not going to work, allow her not to work and allow her to fail on her own. You've been with me. You know my expectations of you. You know the expectations and what I do expect from you at all times. So it's one of those where I still hold my staff accountable, because I know I can put on a blinder. When I know my team got it, I know my team got it. And I know sometimes sometimes the old employees don't like the new people. I don't want new people. I don't want change. But sometimes the new people come in and it's like, oh, I gotta lay my ground. I gotta make sure they know who I am. Like, I'm here. And I had to take that both away. With the newer employee, I sat her down. She bawled her eyes out. She started telling me a lot of things I didn't know that she was going through. And I had to show her, you're used to that toxicity. We're not toxic here. We want to help you. We want you to grow as a mother. We want you to grow as a daughter. We want you to grow as a team. We want you to grow. That is all. So it's one of those, I want to make sure that they grow, but I want them both to see on both sides. Fast forward, my employee started in February. This was probably about March, April when the situation happened. Fast forward she's going on 7 months with me now. And she looks up to that employee now as her big sister. She was like, you know, she really helps me out with my kids and how to move and what I should do and, you know, getting things established and stuff like that. But if I would have let it linger and if I automatically would have just wrote her off and things like that, I wouldn't have had this amazing teacher where I just took the time to help her grow. I'm not saying that works with everyone because it doesn't, because you will have your people where you're like, okay, I tried this and you're still not catching it. So maybe Shells is not the place for you. And I hate to be that person, but maybe it's not. And they have their way of exiting themselves out. Like they've been saying, you got to either grow or you're going to go, and they'll do that for themselves. But it's also a learning lesson for the current team that's there. Like, hey, maybe you did get a little too comfortable. Maybe we've all been with you for a few years, so we're used to you being defensive. We know when you're going through things. We know when it's your cycle. We know when everything's happening. So we get you. But it's still not okay the way you may communicate with new people because they don't know you. They haven't grown. So I like to take every situation, like I tell my team, I want you to grow from every situation and learn from every situation. Because if there's a day I'm not in this building and this arises, you don't have to call me, you don't have to text me, you don't have to do anything because you already know Andrew's going to do this and this is how Andrew's going to say to take care of it. And they already know what to do. My staff have disagreements with each other. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, half the time, I don't even know about them because they will have their disagreement with each other. They'll talk about it amongst each other and they'll go about their way. And then 2-3 days later, I hear, oh yeah, we were on the outs with each other, but we talked about it. We're good now, Miss Ange. Oh, love it. I love that for you guys. I'm so happy that you guys got through it. The kids were fine. I didn't hear no issues from the parents. I didn't hear nothing from you guys. So you guys grew and you guys know what you're doing. So I think that we still also have to keep that our older staff accountable and make sure they also realize like we are the standard. Like this is what the new people coming in, this is where they should get to. They're just not there yet. But we have to make sure we stay there is the biggest thing always. So I definitely think keeping your current team accountable, even when we even if we do know that this person's not going to last, every situation is always a learning situation to help that person grow. And that's all that even early, that's what education is that we want to grow, regardless of whether we're the teacher or the child, we're going to grow and we're going to learn from everything that we encounter.
And at one point, even with our vet, like we like to call them, everyone was new at one point. Imagine if we remember that, maybe, we'll give each other a chance.
Absolutely.
And being the new person is not always fun. It's hard being the new person and everyone's veterans and I'm the new girl. And like, I got, it's not always fun walking into a new environment and not knowing nobody, not really knowing the flow of things, not knowing how things go. So it's like, we also got to look at it like they might have a wall up at the same time too, because they don't know what to expect from us. It's an environment with all women, majority women. That's why I like to throw men into my center because I'm like, we gotta, balance it out a little bit. But, sometimes it's hard being the new person. It's scary, just a little bit.
Well, and I tell people all the time, it takes 6 months to be fully trained here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're coming from another center, every center is so different. Every center is like a person. Everybody does things differently.
Right.
And sometimes I'll have teachers that come in and be like, oh yeah, new girl, not going to make it. She's, yeah. And I'm like, 6 months. It takes 6 months to be trained.
Right.
They're like, I go, what did you do? Did you help them? What did you give them support? Did you show them the way to do it? No. Yeah. Come on. You gotta help them. Like you remember being the new guy, right? I always remind people, remember when you were oh yeah. And then they'll say, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do this. We'll even talk strategies. Try this and this with them, see if that helps them.
That's a good point, Kari. Like helping, old team members and new team members with, strategies. That's a good point. We have a couple other questions. So, man, I think we could have made this a 2-hour webinar, but how would you keep that line between a friendly relationship and being a boss? Example, if I'm close with an employee on a friend level, how would you keep that professional relationship separate? Great question.
Great question. If I can jump in.
Sure, Maria, yes.
As leaders, you can be friendly. The likelihood of you really being able to hang out and be friends is slim. Why? Because usually when it comes to close family and friends, there's always going to be the loophole. There's always going to be the exception. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's really challenging because even with your friend, the same. It has to be firm but fair across the board. And so I personally, I don't give rides. I'm sorry. I don't give car rides home, and I don't hang out on the weekends. But if anything work related, or if we're going to a training, I'm there.
I
Okay.
can also add to that because I do have family that works in my center with me. So we have to be very, very, we really have to be on top of our communication and what we're doing. So my daughter-in-law is a director at my center, and being fair with everyone is like the number one. And number two, I don't hang out with my employees either. I used to do that when I was a new owner, and it always ends in about the time you have to discipline them. They're looking at you like, wait, didn't we just go out to dinner on the weekend? I didn't know this was going to happen to me. So I'll talk a lot and I'll say, I'm putting on my boss hat. When I have to talk to somebody in my family, I'm putting on my boss hat, which lets them know, like, I have to share something with you you're probably not going to like, but I'm going to say it. And same thing, like if I'm having a conversation with an employee and I feel like I'm treading on saying something that probably isn't appropriate for a boss to say, I'll be like, I'm putting on my friend hat. If it was me or in the situation, this happened to me. But just letting people know where you're at when you're talking to them. But you do have to be fair to everybody. And having family work with us, it's something we talk about all the time. Like, would you do that with her who's not your family as well as your family? And I'll bring it up to because we have like 5 people that are family members that work for us. And so we talk about it a lot. No, we didn't do that for her, so we're not doing it for this person. So just being super intentional about how you're going to handle it and being opaque with everyone.
I like the firm but fair. I think that, and I do. I think you guys made some great points. Angela, were you going to add on to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd like to throw it out there. I joke with everyone. I like to say, I guess I'm the millennial boss because I'm so young with running the center and stuff like that. And it's hard. I was like, it's very hard. Like it was the hardest thing. I came in and started running the center when I was 22, 23, 22, 23, around there. So it was hard because it was hard. It was like I didn't have friends. I couldn't be your friend. It was a weird space for me. And now that I'm 30, it's like I set my boundaries very clear and I make my boundaries very clear for my team. They know when it's Ange and they know when it's Miss Ange. They know when I'm walking in, it's and da 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 da. Okay, cool. We laugh, we kiki and stuff. But when they mess up or when things are serious, they know. We laugh and joke. My mom's name is Miss Lachelle, so they'd be like, "Oh, there goes little Shell." Yes, I'm coming. We need to take care of some things. We need to get this done. We need to get this, figured out and stuff like that. But I do set boundaries with my team so that they know the difference. And I am one, I'll go out, you want to go have brunch or something, perfectly fine. I won't go out at night with them. I won't go to like the clubs or anything like that. I won't do any of that because that does blur the difference. So you want to go have lunch? Of course we can go have lunch. I don't have an issue with having lunch with you on a Saturday or something like that. But I do make it very clear. And when we're out, we're just out. We're 2 girls, we're laughing, we're kikiing, we're talking about our men, we're 2 women speaking. I don't bring up work, I don't bring up the kids, I don't bring nothing up because that's not what we're here for. We're here just to have a good time and stuff like that. But I do set my boundaries and like that. And you don't know, I love you guys to death, but I can't. That's the part that I can't. And they understand that and they respect it. I think I always laugh and say I over communicate, but in childcare, I don't ever think that's an issue to over communicate about why I do things the way I do it or why things are moving the way that they're moving. So I over communicate with them easily.
Yeah. And then when it comes to friendship, so on the flip side, me and the owner, shout out to Jacqueline Taylor, me and the owner were friends before there was ever a childcare program. And in our situation, our friendship is what propels me to give my best to her because that's my friend. I see her vision. I want her to win, and I'm going to hold myself accountable so that she doesn't have to. And when you have that mutual respect, then sure, maybe it can work. But just be careful.
No, I agree. And that's a great point too, Maria, because I think when your team loves and respects you, they want to do well for you. And, so you do separate that friendship, but at the same time, when you are friends or you are family, you want to celebrate each other and you want each other to win. I know that's with our IC360 team. We shout out to each other. We celebrate wins and small victories and have fun Fridays and do those things to build that culture. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our time, and I don't want this to stop, but we don't, we only have a couple of minutes. But Maria, Angela, Kari, I literally have gotten goosebumps listening to the three of you just share, and I know of everybody that's on this webinar, they have just appreciated and they're lingering on every piece of advice. So I think we need to have a part 2 on this, I feel like, but you guys have been amazing. You have had awesome contributions to this panelist webinar, and we just cannot thank you enough. I know I speak for everybody on here. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and just being an open book for us. So
thank you for having me.
Of course. So I'm just going to do a few items here to close up. Again, I hate to see it end. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to get your CEUs certificate for this, please check out that link. Sarah put it in the chat. Also, I'm super excited for our next webinar, Dr. Deborah Tillman. So make sure you jump on this webinar. I had the pleasure of meeting her in Miami at a conference. She was speaking, I was speaking. At the time, sometimes I miss things. At the time, I did not realize that she was America's super nanny from the Lifetime TV show. So if you remember that, Dr. Deborah Tillman, and she was just a ball of fire. And same kind of thing. Everything that she spoke on, I was like lingering on every word that she had to say. So I approached her and I said, will you please do a webinar with us? And she's excited. So that will be our next webinar on October 1st, Childcare Owners Empowerment Playbook. So don't miss that. Save that date. Sign up for that webinar. I believe Sarah will put the link in there for everybody. In addition, as Danielle mentioned at the beginning, our new ebook, which I spoke on PR crisis, and I came up with the loaded diaper. So things really stink if you're not prepared for a PR crisis. We always say, we do not want you to face the PR crisis, but when you do, being prepared and having, again, the right tools, the right strategies, and the right plan in place, it'll take some of that stink out of it. So this is a free download. That link will also be in the chat if you would like to download this free ebook on PR crisis planning. And thank you all so much. If you'd like to learn more about Inspire Care, you can scan that link. Also, you can check out our website. Some of you I know have dropped things in the chat. Again, we are super excited to have our beautiful guests on here. And thank you to all of you who participated, attended, all the questions. I'm so sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, but you guys had some fantastic questions and we really appreciate everyone. So you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.